everyone, and welcome back to The Rundown, where we talk about 2A news and conservative views. I will be your host today, Craig DeLuz, coming at you from the West Coast, the left coast, behind the Iron Curtain, otherwise known as the Sierras. But as we all know, I do not do this program by myself.
That's right. My name is Mike Piwowarski, coming to you live from the East Coast. That's the coast with the most, with the co-host with the most here on The Rundown. 2A views, conservative news, and Craig, as I like to call Thursday, is the day 4 of the hostage situation. How is yours going so far?
Thus far, it's going pretty well. I'm having a good time, working my tail off. I have a client who has a big event tomorrow night, so it's like adding another job on top of my other 2 jobs. But once I'm done, all will be well. So tomorrow evening, I will be definitely enjoying being free from the hostage situation.
You are a busy man. Listen, you're wearing the collared shirt there right now. I imagine you're sitting there in the boxer shorts with socks and sock garters on, waiting for this show to be over so you can put your pants back on and go to another job. That's what I pictured.
No, I actually have pants on because I don't have that much time before I have to go to a school board meeting. So, yeah, gotcha. I got a lot of stuff going on here,
folks. A little behind the scenes kind of action. If you're a speaker, if you're stand up in front of people, you sometimes you don't put your pants on until you walk out on stage because you don't want wrinkles in pants while you're standing up there in front of everybody. So that's why
I'm like this way. If you are a speaker and you are worried about wrinkles in your pants, if people are focused on the wrinkles in your pants, you're not a very good speaker.
Or, you are, and that you little theater of the mind,
Theater of the mind.
Military.
Okay. I'll give you that one.
It's a military thing. You don't do parades, you don't perform, you don't get up and speak. I still do it. When we go speaking, Craig, I don't. If you come look for me right before it's time for me to go on stage, I'm in the bathroom and my pants are hanging up, waiting for me. So.
Oh. I do like to have myself before I speak. I do like to be set aside. I do like to be someplace where I can just focus.
Focus. Oh yeah, focus.
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 You need to focus. Wax on, wax off.
Yes.
Daniel-san.
Yes, I'm with you the same way. I'm the same way. Yep. Gotta get my focus on. Yep.
Get my focus on.
Yeah.
All right, sir. Well, hey, speaking of getting the focus on, let's go ahead and get into the program. But before we do, you know how we do it. Time to shout out to the sponsors.
That's right. Hitman Industries, hitmanindustries.net. In fact, spent the last 2 days with these guys. Had a great time. If you're looking for an AR barrel, you probably got one of their barrels in the last 5 years. If you bought an AR in the last 5 years, you probably got one of their barrels. There we go. You can now buy from them factory direct to get a barrel for your next AR build or rebarrel your current AR platform. That's hitmanindustries.net. They got a new little video series coming out too, Craig. They're going to be doing a little snapshots, a little snap views around the old factory there. So looking forward to those. California Republican Assembly fighting a good fight behind enemy lines. Now you could take part in California's future today. Make sure you check out the California 6th congressional race. If you're looking for the best in tactical concealed holsters on the market, that's Hog Holsters, HAWG holsters.com, hogholsters.com. Use the discount code The Rundown. It's all one word, no spaces, all caps. Get yourself a nice little discount. And if you're looking for tactical gear, whether you're going indoors, outdoors, hunting, camping, whatever it is, you can get everything with the gun at uscombatgear.com.
That's right, folks. These are our sponsors. They bring us to you so that we can bring you to them. Please do us a favor. Do yourself a favor. Visit their websites. The links are in the description to this program. Go there, check them out, spend some money with them, and make sure you tell them it was the guys over at The Rundown that sent you. All righty. Getting on with it. Let's start with the stories. I had to make this the number one story because, wow, I don't know that I've ever... I'm sorry. Oh, you had something to say, Mike?
We're number one.
We're number one.
The story's cheering. We're number one. We're
okay.
Number one.
Got it. Okay. All right. So I saw this headline and I could not help but make it the number one story because, wow. There is, well, you might know that there's a big, it's a major issue. I'm sorry, it is a major issue, but you have, basically the issue is you have female or male athletes competing in female sports. And while, most common sense folks know that this is just not a good idea. Some folks, well, not so much. And this story right here, you have an Olympic champion. Let me clarify. My testicles don't make me less of a woman. It says here, double Olympic champion, middle distance runner, Caster Semenya, claims to be a woman despite being born without a uterus, adding that he embraces the differences he was born with. At the end of the day, I know I am different. I don't care about the medical terms or what they tell me or my testosterone. You know, being born without a uterus, being born without internal testicles. I mean, we're born without internal testicles. I did know testicles were internal. Okay. I didn't know there were such things as external testicles, but I'll move on. Those don't make me less of a woman, Semenya said. In fact, let's listen to the video.
You know, the medical terms, what they tell me, you know, my testosterone, you know, being born, you know, without the uterus, you know, being born with internal testicles, those don't make me less a woman. It's just the differences that I was born with, and I embrace them.
Mike, I'm kind of speechless.
Well, lucky for you, Craig.
Huh?
I want to thank you for this Christmas gift. First off, I want to thank you for this Christmas gift of a story a little early in the year. Greg, I want you to pick between number 1 and 4. We're going to go over all 4 of them, but you get to pick which response goes first.
Number 2.
Number 2. Wow, get a load of the balls on this guy, huh? You believe him? All right.
Oh my. Okay. All right. Wow.
All right, now you got
okay.
1, 3, and 4. 1, 3, and 4 left. Go with another one.
Oh God. Okay. All right. All right. Let's go 3.
Number 3. Bring the photo back up. All the way to the top there. There we go. A little bit more. Actually, a little higher. Let me see the title. I'm pretty sure, Craig, that's a Billy Ray Cyrus song, isn't it? Testicles don't make me less of a woman. I think Billy Ray Cyrus song. Testicles don't make me less of a woman.
Actually, I think it's more Garth Brooks.
Is that well? Yeah, that could be a little Garth. Well, maybe he's redoing the song. All right. Here's number 4, Craig. Here's number 4. The Germans look at this guy and they look at his name tag and they go, that's Seaman, yeah. That's his name. Seaman, yeah. And then finally the first one would be, Craig, you know, with my eyes closed, I thought that was Shaq doing an interview.
Yeah, I'd like to thank everybody for my balls. My balls don't matter.
Actually, you know what? You know how I knew it wasn't Shaq? Hair.
Yeah. I said my eyes were closed.
Your eyes were closed. There you go.
Yeah.
I
Speechless, right?
Wow.
Speechless, yeah.
I'm just, but Mike, here's the thing. This is the world we are in today. This is the world we're in right now.
Yeah, absolutely right. This guy pushed his testicles back up into his body there, and evidently now thinks he's a woman. I wonder what he did the rest of his junk. Just left that there to hang down, I guess.
And by the way, of note here, according to the article, it says, but Semenya refused to take drugs to reduce his testosterone levels since the athletic world governing body introduced the rules in 2018, AFP reported. As a result, the 32-year-old has been barred from competing. But in July, Semenya won a lengthy legal battle against the Swiss government at Strasbourg based international court. On Monday, the European Court of Human Rights agreed to rule on the case of Semenya. Meanwhile, Swiss authorities, with the support of the World Athletics, announced that they intend to take issue with the ECHR's Grand Chamber, whose rulings are binding. In other words, dude, they have international courts who are now saying, Oh yeah, no, this is cool. They can do this.
This guy's name in Germanic and Slavic languages is literally Seaman. Yes, that's what this guy's name is. By the way, Craig, if you want to reduce testosterone, it's not shots you have to take; it's the testicles you have to take. Take them away from them. Take them away from them. You'll reduce the testosterone.
You know, Mike, something told me you would enjoy this story.
That's what I said. Thank you for this early Christmas present. Thank you. Yep.
What gets me is, keep in mind, and I want you to think back to In Living Color. Think back to the character that Jim Carrey. This was a meme. This was a comedy routine 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, we were adults when this was a joke. Right? In other words, they did this to make fun of, and what it was those were female athletes, right? Who were supposedly taking, who were taking drugs, right? In order to, who were taking steroids. Well, now they're not athletes taking steroids. They're just male athletes pretending to be women.
Yeah, they're hiding their packages. Trying to get through the gate. Yeah, you're correct. 362 days, 363 days. We'll be done with this. 360. If they count it all on the same day, right? So
right.
We'll see.
If they, dude, here in Sacramento, we had a couple of special elections for school board, right? Now, school board in one district within school board, and they couldn't have all the ballots counted in one night.
Well, it's
Don't
tough
you love
when
technology?
It's tough when you got to go in there and you have to count them first, see where you really are. Then you got to add the ballots you want to add to it. So then you got to recount.
Pretty much that is.
But you got to make sure you don't have more ballots than people in the district. You got to make sure that too. They learn that lesson, So.
Well, I will tell you right now, this is an issue that this is just one issue, one part of this issue that people are going to be dealing with and people are going to be campaigning on. Because the reality is that this is really a campaign against truth and reality. I mean, right now, there are people who support the idea and concept of truth and reality, and those who want to promote Fantasyland. And those who are promoting this guy are promoting Fantasyland.
Yeah, I see. Hopefully, right? Hopefully, everything works out, and we get a conservative president back in office, and whoever that conservative president happens to be. Instead of tweeting slaps around the world, it'll be actual slaps around the world. Just going to go deliver them. Smack, smack, smack. What are you doing? Get your head out of your
there should be.
Point of contact.
There quite frankly should be. Some people need to get slapped. I hate to say it, but they do. They need to get slapped. Slapped to reality. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, that's another 80s song. Slap to reality.
All right, so let's talk about another story. Talk about slap to reality. You know that basically we just had a special election. Or not special election, but we just had midterm elections. Not even midterm. I guess you say off-year elections. There you go. That's the term. So we just had off-year elections. And in a number of areas where abortion was on the ballot or where candidates were strong on abortion, they actually wound up losing the elections or the pro-abortion position seemed to have won out. Well, the crazy thing about that is now you have a lot of people, a lot of Republicans, who are now trying to claim that, well, that means that we as Republicans really need to reconsider whether or not we need to be campaigning on issues like abortion, right? Because that we seem to be losing on that issue. So here you have one GOP strategist, and I'll take this with a grain of salt because this is obviously, from NBC News, so I don't know how trustworthy they are. They're always pushing various different, they don't know how Republicans think. They think they do. But anyway, it says here, GOP strategists, so it's more than one, urge congressional candidates to campaign against a national abortion ban. According to the story, it says a weak performance for Republicans in Tuesday's elections has sparked new waves of anxiety in the party, and strategists are now urging their candidates to change course on how they discuss the issue in order to win competitive races next year. 3 GOP sources, notice nobody named, they just said sources, told NBC News that party operatives fighting to win control of Congress are making a concerted push Wednesday to encourage Republicans to make clear to voters in speeches and TV ads that they don't favor a national ban on abortions. The National Republican Senatorial Committee is, quote, is encouraging Republicans to clearly state their opposition to the national abortion ban and their support for reasonable limits on late-term abortions when babies can feel pain, with exceptions for rape and incest and the life of the mother. Said a source, once again, Lord knows who it is, familiar with NRSC strategy. They are encouraging candidates to contrast that position with Democrats' support for taxpayer-funded abortions without limits. Now, Mike, what gets me about this is, first of all, I think there's a number of issues around this whole thing. Number one, I think that trying to tell every candidate how they should run on this particular issue is stupid because, number one, it depends on where you're running. Right. And it depends on how effective you are in communicating your position as it is consistent with those who you seek to represent. So obviously the first thing you got to do is, so the people who I seek to represent, what's their position? Okay, what is my position? And now, because I don't think I should change my position based on where I'm running, I think I need to change how I communicate my position based on where I'm running. Because otherwise, what I understand from their saying is that if you do support significant limits on abortion, even at the national level, that you should lie about it.
Yeah, yes, you should definitely try to avoid the topic or mislead. Is kind of what they're saying. I don't know if it's actually lie, but they're like, here's our platform. This is what we want you to say. Really consider you should say this. We know what you believe, but this is what you should say. Yeah, I can see where that's construed that way. Craig, this goes back to the re-ruling from the current Supreme Court, and remember their ruling wasn't that abortion is illegal. It was far from that. Their decision was abortion is a states' rights issue, and that the court erred 50 years ago in saying it was a federal issue, and it was not. So it's been put back to local jurisdictions now. It's always kind of been along those lines, right? Conservative, leaning towards, it's a life, it's an unborn life, and then the liberals that it's my body, my choice to kill it, whatever it happens to be. And I see where they want them to go. They're trying to find this neutral ground for them to take. Why not the truth? Hey, it's a states' rights issues, and in my personal opinion, and just like you said, Craig, know what the personal feeling is of your constituents and use that, because you're not trying to, if you're the representative from, the 3rd district of Never Neverland, trying to impress the whole country, you need to get your supporters from your district on your side. So you should know their feeling and know what the conservatives are in your district want you to say. And then that's what you should have in that conversation.
That's kind of where you should lean. And really you should be where you're at. And I think, there have been a number of different polls that have been done, and they've pretty much found that Republican or Democrat, the overwhelming majority, when I say the overwhelming majority, I'm saying about 80% plus of people are supportive of the idea of limits after the first trimester, right?
Yes. Yeah.
After 15 weeks, they're for limits, but they also agree with exceptions for incest and to protect the life of the mother. Now, mind you, those two exceptions, less than 4%, less than about 3% of all abortions are included in those. And I think even with the exception of the staunchest pro-lifers, that pretty much seems to be, that's the most pro-lifers understand that those are okay exemptions, or at least are supportive of those exemptions. What gets me about this whole thing is that it's really the attempt by the moderate wing of the party, or the pro-abortion, or you want to call them the socially liberal portion of the Republican Party, to
Right.
try and blame pro-lifers for the position for this particular loss. And I'll just throw this out there. We have seen the moderate wing of the party throw out liberal candidate after liberal candidate for president, and here in California for governor, and they've never, ever, ever come close. And that's because they just want to be Democrat-like. And that's who these folks are. The people who are Republicans, who are pro-abortion, they are what I call free market liberals, who aren't interested in, because their values or their positions don't come from a moral position.
Yeah.
Not only do they not believe in the moral values issues, the social issues, they also tend to be the first ones to cave and become weak on the fiscal issues, because fiscal accountability is a moral base, just like anything else. I mean, just like every other thing. For me, it's based on my moral values. For a moderate, it's just based on, well, that's the position that they've taken, which basically means they can be moved from that position if so inclined.
Yeah, no, absolutely right. And like you said, it's may or may not be happening in some districts, because they've found a way in California to be, like, what you call them, a moderate conservatives. Is that what you're calling them?
Right.
Moderate conservatives?
Moderate Republicans. There's no such thing as moderate conservative. But okay. I'll tell you, my position is this. For example, I thought the Supreme Court basically said, look, the states should decide this. In the state of California, they've decided that they want abortion to be a right. I don't agree with it, but that's the law in California. Now, what we can do is we can do what NARAL said. NARAL said they wanted to make abortions legal, safe, and rare. They're legal. So how about we do this? How about we now try to make them safe and rare?
Yeah, there you go. Yep. That's one way to do it for sure. Rare is what we want. Yep.
Rare is what we want, but the reality, Mike, is, and I think you know this, they don't want abortions to be rare. They don't. They absolutely
no. And I think a lot of politicians don't care. It's one of those. I'm liberal. What do my people want? We're pro-abortion. That's what I want, because we know a liberal is willing to sell their soul for the good, for the greater good. Right? I will do whatever. I will lie to people and tell them whatever they need to hear in order for me to get elected.
Whatever they want to hear.
Yes.
There you go. All right. So you know that the Supreme Court just heard oral arguments on the whether or not those who have been accused, basically those who have domestic violence restraining orders against them, whether or not they should lose their fundamental right to keep and bear arms. And the argument that keeps being made by many on the left, and I worded the title this way because this came from Slate. This came from Slate, which you know is left wing. It says here, Sam Alito's deplorable arguments for letting domestic abusers keep their guns. The most fascinating class of Supreme Court oral arguments generally tend to be those that effectively raise the question, why are we here again? And by virtually all accounts, arguments on Tuesday in what should have been the blockbuster gun rights case of the year, United States v. Rahimi, bogged down in various iterations that boil down to why was the decision in Bruin, the 2022 case that changed the test for gun regulations, so stupid? Why is originalism so stupid? Why is the gun rights position in this case so very stupid? Once again, this is opinion from Slate magazine. This was the case, as Jay Willis explained in Slate, the winning argument in the case for U.S. Court of Appeals in the Fifth Circuit, that you can't find any corollary law showing that the founding fathers would have taken guns away from domestic abusers, stemmed directly from Bruin's impossible demand that every modern gun regulation must be a direct historical analog. And you know what's funny about this, Mike, is while they don't like it, the point of it all is this. The Constitution says, shall not be infringed. If it wasn't infringed back then, in other words, if they did it back then when they wrote the Second Amendment, then it wasn't considered an infringement. But if they did it, then it was considered an infringement. But if they disallowed it, or if it didn't happen, then it's not an infringement. So the point is, behind this is the Second Amendment says what the Second Amendment says, and I'm sorry you don't like it. Boo-hoo, Winnie boo-boo.
You've got the left side here, trying to obscure what the argument's really about here. This guy Rahimi is a bad dude. There's no question that he should not have a firearm. He should not continue to have a firearm, or should not regain his firearm rights. He's got a whole slew of other items that and convictions that preclude him from owning a firearm legally again. However, the reason this case is there is because at one point he was charged with possession of a firearm by a domestic violence abuser. That's it. They didn't charge him with possession of a firearm by a felon, possession of a firearm by somebody under an injunction. They didn't charge him with any of that. All right. They screwed up. They could have charged him with three things. In this case, never would have come to light. But because they charged him with conviction of a domestic violence abuser, a misdemeanor battery crime, that's why this is in the Supreme Court for looking at that instance. So every time the left brings up, well, he's a felon, the right has to remind them, we're not here for that part. That's not what we're here for. And that's why the judges are kind of annoyed with this. And when he says, what are we here for? That's why we're here. We're here to talk about this single issue of being charged with possession of a firearm while a domestic violence abuser. We don't care about that other stuff. Stop bringing that up. It's not pertinent to this case at all.
But Mike, it's not even about being an abuser. It's about being accused. And here's why it's important. Because what happens is, first of all, to get a domestic violence restraining order it's not a hard thing to get. In fact, in places like California, It's been a common practice. It's been a tactic by divorce lawyers to try and leverage a settlement a positive settlement for their clients. But the idea is this: is that if someone gets a domestic violence restraining order against you, you lose your right to keep and bear arms. You've committed no crime. They haven't proven that you've committed any crime. You haven't even been arrested for the crime. You've simply been accused. And what they're trying to determine here is, if you have been accused, should you then lose your right to keep and bear arms? And I think that's a valid question that should be asked. And is there a certain standard? Is the domestic violence restraining order, is that enough of a standard for someone to lose their fundamental right to keep and bear arms? I think it's a valid question to ask.
It is great, and thank you for clarifying that. I should have said, possession of a firearm by an alleged domestic violence abuser, because that's how you get the injunction. Craig, it's one of those, the judges will know it when they see it kind of decision, right? Because if you take away, let's say you take away just where this could possibly lead. If you take that away and say, okay, it's an injunction, it's not a conviction. What about bail conditions at that point? Well, sir, you've been arrested for murder in the second degree. You got a $2 million bail. One of the conditions is you're not allowed to possess firearms. Well, he's not convicted. Can you take those rights away from him? So you start getting into a little bit more of that. So the injunction they're going to look at first, and it's got to be based on, I think we'll get all these judges together and see what they do. They're going to look at historical reference and see if it's there. I think, Craig, that here's my personal opinion, that if you have an injunction against you, you're going to lose your firearm rights, because back in the founding father days, if you were convicted of a crime, you got put in the hoosegow until the trial was over. Okay.
Well, I think you're right. I think overall that's the way the justices are going to lean.
Yeah.
I do believe, though, that Alito and Thomas, because both of them are pretty close they're probably the purists on the Supreme Court on the Second Amendment. And I think they're going to side. I think what you're going to see is a decision that's likely going to. I wouldn't be surprised to see it 7-2 or 6-3
Yeah.
in favor of
Right.
keeping, in favor of saying, look, if you have a domestic violence restraining order, you temporarily lose your right to keep and bear arms. I that would not surprise me one bit, because I think we all agree people who are violent or should not be have a history of violence should not be allowed to own or possess firearms. In this case, allegedly have a history of violence. I don't know. That's gonna be a tough one, but I think the Supreme Court's gonna wind up 6-3 ruling that if you have a domestic violence restraining order against you, then you probably should lose your rights. Now, having said that, I think I wouldn't be surprised to see some legal decisions coming down later where they wind up increasing the amount of evidence or proof that's needed in order to secure a domestic violence restraining order.
Well, and that's why, Craig, they're issued. They're issued. It's similar to the red flag laws, right? When the alleged victim comes in and goes to the judge, they do that ex parte. The accused accuser is not there. The accused is not there. So you have the victim, then you have the accused. The victim goes in, says, "I'm in fear for my life. This just happened," and the judge gives, depending on what jurisdiction you're in, either a 10-day or a 15-day or a 21-day temporary restraining order. So you get a temporary. And on those 10, 15, or 21 days, the accused has the right to come in and say, nope, never happened, present their evidence. So you do have a certain amount of due process that you get the right to come in and give your side of the story, unlike a red flag law where it's never heard. It's never brought into
Exactly.
it. So there is some due process in this. It's just how much more protection or rights are granted before you have the permanent injunction hearing instead of just the temporary restraining order.
Right. Exactly. Okay. So anyway, this will be an interesting ruling, but I kind of wanted to show you that there, once again, how folks are perverting, first of all, they hate Bruin. The left absolutely hates Bruin because it requires you to, actually read the Constitution.
Yeah.
Actually read the law.
Obey the law.
Obey the law.
Exactly right.
Exactly.
Yep,
Exactly. All right, moving right along. We got one more here. Politicians caught visiting high-end brothel. I'll bet you thought this was an Epstein story. No, this is not Epstein Island. It says here, federal prosecutors say high-end brothels counted elected officials, tech execs, and military officers as clients. 3 people were arrested operating a high-end brothel with potentially hundreds of clients, including elected officials, technology and pharmaceutical executives, military officers, professors, doctors, and government contractors with security clearance, federal prosecutors announced Wednesday. This commercial sex ring was built on secrecy and exclusivity, catering to a wealthy and well-connected clientele, acting U.S. Attorney Joshua Levy said at a news briefing. The business was booming until today. Since at least July 2020, an interstate network of multiple brothels had spanned across Cambridge and Watertown, Massachusetts, officials said, as well as Fairfax and Tysons, Virginia. The U.S. Attorney's Office, District of Massachusetts, announced Wednesday. Han Lee of Cambridge, Massachusetts, James Lee of Torrance, California, and Jimmy Young Lee of Dedham, Massachusetts, were arrested and charged with conspiracy to coerce and entice to travel to engage in illegal sexual activity. It is punishable by up to 5 years in prison, 3 years supervised release, and $250 fine. Sex buyers were not identified, but court documents said that was not to protect anonymity, but instead due to investigations into their role, active and ongoing, which could have major implications for involved people as new information comes to light. So my question is this going to get Epstein Island treatment and we'll never see the list ever, 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 never?
It doesn't sound like we're going to see the list. It doesn't sound like we're going to see it at all. It looks like it's through the Brainiac corridor, the high tech corridor. You're talking about Cambridge. You're talking MIT, right? You're talking then the down through DC as well. This is probably the think tank for some government projects that these people involve. And Craig, I don't know. Listen, I got a problem with being the morality police. I said I understand the reason that we have anti-prostitution laws is to keep people from selling underage girls, kidnapping, if the drug abuse, and then people do prostitution to get money for drugs or those things. And I understand that. And I think, but a solution might be a regulatory system, because you don't run into those things in the jurisdictions that have them. But it's about being the morality police. Ironically, Craig, we have an abortion story as well today. And if you look at the difference between prostitution and abortion, according to the government, we're allowed to regulate the vagina, but not the uterus.
Yeah, pretty much. That's pretty much how it breaks down. Yeah, you can regulate the vagina, but not the uterus.
Yeah.
I honestly, the thing for me was just the whole, is this going to get the Epstein Island treatment? Is this going to be one, because politicians are involved, the list will never see the light of day? And I'm guessing that's going to be the case.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely right. You're
powerful people involved, because they're pharmaceutical executives involved in there. Oh yeah, no, that list will never see the light of day.
Yep. Nope. Never.
And based on where they're located, and where the investigations took place, I'm going to guess, and I think I pretty safe guess, most of the politicians we're talking about are liberal politicians, which means we're definitely not going to see the list.
In fact, the story probably doesn't even exist right now. It's
probably doesn't even exist. I just made it up, right?
That's it. Way to go, Craig.
Okay.
You ain't got to lie, Craig. You ain't got to lie.
On that note, we've now made it to our party shots, brought to you by Hog Holsters. That's HAWG Holsters. Just go to hogholsters.com. Use discount code The Rundown. All caps, no spaces. Get your Hog holster today. All right, this first story, it has to do with, let's go with this one. Talk about the morality police. Let's just do this one. A lot of people think that, if you are a believer, if you're a Christian, you're supposed to be nice. Even when people are doing crazy, whacked out, evil things, we're supposed to be nice. In fact, the term they always use is, what would Jesus do? Well, when someone says, what would Jesus do? Remember, flipping over tables and chasing people with a whip is within the realm of possibilities.
Yep. There you go. Jesus on a rampage. Yeah.
Now, sticking with the Jesus theme, if you ever wonder, Lord God, give me a reason to go to work. God, give me a reason to go to work. It says here, guns aren't cheap, my child.
Very true. Very true. Spent some time in a gun shop today, and they're not cheap. Wasn't able to buy but 2 of them.
It very, very hard to not agree with that one. And then from our good friends over at the Babylon Bee, this one is very, very fitting for those of you who are in California. California proposes another minimum wage increase so people can afford products that were made more expensive by the previous minimum wage increase.
Yeah, listen, you laugh. It's the Babylon Bee, but this is probably next up. Yeah, it's probably something he's going to propose. Old Mussolini.
Mike, you have no idea. I keep telling myself this. It used to be satirical. Now it's just they're reporting the news before it happens.
That's
it. And by the way,
very much.
Just so you know, in today's environment, and I'll just be frank with you, there has never been anything more true. If you are a conservative, and this applies to you. Here's a little song I wrote called "If You're Not on a Government Watch List by Now, You Should Be Ashamed of Yourself."
That's pretty funny, but I like the song from earlier in the show. Testicles don't make me not a woman.
Testicles Don't Make Me Not a Woman by Garth Brooks.
Yeah. That's right, by Garth Brooks. Drinking his Bud Light.
Oh, good stuff. Good stuff. All right. Hey, we did have one comment during the show, so I'll go ahead and I'll pull it up here and let y'all read it. This one here was from David Hall, and this was actually over at OpsLens. He made the comment. He's like, "Well, the truth of the matter is, these people are all sick." And you know what the funny part about that is, Mike? It applies to every single story we talked about today.
He's right. Yeah, it's true.
Very true. Does. Yeah. It applies to every single one. I think he's talking about the first one, but I think it applies to every single story we talked about today.
Everything. Listen, it applies to the part where I got to go to work on Thursday. It's very true.
What's up with that?
I know. These people are sick, making me go to work on Thursday.
All right, Mike. Well, before we wrap it up, how about another quick shout out to our sponsors?
Yeah, Hitman Industries, hitmanindustries.net. You can get the rifle and pistol caliber barrels at any length you need for your next AR build. Currently, got Glock barrels you can get as well. And coming soon, man, coming out with some great barrels, some new barrels, some AK barrels, some Thompson barrels, incredible stuff coming from the guys over at hitmanindustries.net. California Republican Assembly fighting a good fight behind enemy lines. Now you can take part in California's future today. Make sure you get over there and check out that California 6th congressional race and pony up some cash. It's time for some cash. If you're looking for the best in tactical gear on the market, whether you're going indoors, outdoors, you're going for business or pleasure, check out our friends. You can get everything but the gun over at uscombatgear.com.
Folks, these are all good Americans. They're all good patriots. They're all fighting for the very same values that we're fighting for, and they're all trying to make a living. So do us a favor. Do yourself a favor. Visit their websites. Links are in the description to this program. Check it out. Spend some money with them, and make sure you tell them it was the guys over at The Rundown that sent you. And on that note, we're going to call it a day. We're going to be back tomorrow. Tomorrow's Freedback Friday, Freaky Friday, Fun for All Friday. It's Friday. We're going to have a good time. We hope that you will be here and have a good time with us. Peace out.
Peace.